Okay, I'm going to call the Board of Supervisors to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Giomi, Supervisor White, Supervisor Horton, Supervisor Schutte.
Here.
Mayor Bagwell.
Here.
You have your quorum.
Thank you so much. I see Pastor Pat in the room. Come on up and get us started.
Well, I didn't get a chance to be here 2 weeks ago, but this is the third Thursday. So Happy New Year. So this is a New Year blessing. Precious Lord, as we embark on the journey into 2025, I ask you, O Lord, bless our mayor, this Board of Supervisors, this amazing capital city of Carson, our great state of Nevada, the United States. We ask you for your wisdom, your safety, your provision in all that we endeavor to do and accomplish this year. We also pray for our sheriff's department, our fire department, as well as all the first responders and city officials in many offices. Also, Lord, we pray for the legislature and all elected officials. Lord, would you please bless our churches, our schools, our hospitals, and businesses. May your hand of guidance be upon us all. Lord, bless us and keep us. May your face shine upon us and be gracious to us. Lift up your countenance upon us and give us peace. And we pray this in our precious Lord's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you
Happy
so
New
much
Year.
for that. It was delightful. How about you all join me in the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Great start. Okay, we are on opening or beginning public comment for today, and I have Kurt Hinkle on the sign up. Hi, Kurt.
Okay, dear Carson City Board of Supervisors.
Could you pull the mic a little closer to you so people could see?
My name is Kurt Hinkle, and I live at 2609 Michael Drive in Carson City. I am here today for neighbors and myself for a very simple reason. The development code does not contain any language for noise mitigation regarding a business that may be built next to residential property. This is especially important when the proper zoning said businesses can go straight to permit without any review, public input, or neighborhood advisory. Our homes back up to a retail commercial zoning, and there is a quick-serve restaurant under construction. Our issues with the noise that this project or projects may generate. It's been said that we should have taken this into account when we bought our homes, but at that time, I don't think we could have anticipated potential noise impacts. For example, these new businesses feature double-stacked drive-through lanes and high traffic volume, creating noise far beyond expectations. The point is, the development code should reflect the changes new business models have and will be presenting without affecting property values. We support economic growth and feel it's necessary for a healthy community, not a burden for us to bear, but a beneficial for us all. The only requirement that quick serve restaurant under construction behind our homes has is to screen our property. Though we do commend them for their forethought and they are building a 5-foot block wall, we are asking for the block wall to be increased to a height of 8 foot and a similar recommendation to be applied to the project that we built to the north. We are looking for any assistance that the Board of Supervisors may be able to provide as we pursue this endeavor, and thank you for your cooperation. We would also like to thank the Mayor, Lori Bagwell, for her help she is providing and the time that Curtis Horton, Stacy Giammi, and Morris White had afforded us. Sincerely, the Michael Drive neighbors. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. French, we've got next.
Hello, thank you. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. I'd like to second the gentleman's statement on noise in preparation for that and accommodations for the concerns. I live next to the freeway, and some of those air brakes get a little ridiculous, but less of that lately. But I also would like to bring up the fact that I would like consideration as far as the consent agenda. I would like the parks item 11A be pulled for discussion as relating to Governor's Field. And I feel with it being such a mix of responsibilities and considerations that it would be nice to have individuals on the board film myself. I can't speak for the community, but it's not to me something that is routine. I also find that most of the agenda for the consent is not, to me, considered routine. I understand that a lot of not having to talk about things is the routine part of it, but that you are open to if people do question you individually. However, I do feel that when someone's appointed or reappointed, that they should be acknowledged, and that process should be verbalized by you all, even if it's just saying, we're not going to take it off the agenda, but I would like to note or make a comment that these people have been appointed, have taken positions, or are retaking positions. I think it's important for my sake. I'm hoping others will. Also, as far as time I have left, I grew up in Altadena. Pasadena has been ablaze, and Altadena has taken a big brunt of it. The area next to JPL, where I lived, is under evacuation, and my neighbor, the Nunleys, are not sure their house is still there. So that would mean perhaps that the house that I lived in is no longer there. And the trees and the squirrels and everything that I was able to enjoy as a child that I can remember. Also, I would like to have it considered, since all of these fires are up in arms and that nature is going to blow things everywhere, that we reconsider our construction and our design of houses in the future to relate to things like flooding, fires, etc. It's not enough just to take care of your landscape. It's have to have undercover for eaves, other considerations on roofing, and for the wall units themselves. So I think we need to rethink our building codes and structure design considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anyone else on the sign-up sheet, but is there anyone else that would like to make opening public comment? Gone. Okay, thank you. Then we're going to move on to agenda item 6, which is approval of our minutes. Do I have any corrections or stuff? Just the one? Supervisor Giomi?
I move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of December 19, 2024 as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect that was unanimous. If you'll join me on the floor, we will do our award. Get more. Ooh, 7. So we really enjoy the Employee of the Quarter Award because it's an opportunity where other employees in the city can state that someone that they want to recognize for going above and beyond. It's kind of neat, or I think it's really neat when it comes from another employee that says someone really has stepped up. And so we love it here. And this quarter, the proclamation is for Danielle Sattler. Where is she? Come on up. So just a few things. I'm going to go right to what's so great about her. Whereas Danielle Sattler is a hardworking, dedicated employee with Carson City Parks, Recreation, and Open Space and excels in communication and ranger education, serving as a model public servant, thereby contributing to the fulfillment of the Carson City's mission, values, and vision. And she really does. I've got to say, just personally, all the Rangers are just turning out to be quite a forward-facing unit for Carson City. They really are engaged with the public. They are a front line that people get an exposure or an opportunity to see the good work of our entire community, right? So people that are working on trails, but they're the face showing things, right? They're the ones saying, "Come on, kiddos, let's go do this." So I just really want to commend all of the Rangers and especially Danielle. But maybe you just say a few words about the program. Or
Of
how long
course.
has she worked for us?
Thank you, Mayor. Danielle is tremendous. If you haven't met her, you need to. Our park rangers are so wonderful. They're a great first impression for our city and our department. But Danielle in particular has some amazing talents. She's not only so kind and caring, but she's an amazing wildlife photographer. If you haven't seen her photography, it's really wonderful. We put it out all on our website. She is so great with the youth in our community. She's really turned around our interpretive programs and is just so wonderful and caring and thoughtful. She always says yes. She never says no. She's just such a special person, and we're so happy to have her a part of our team. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Okay, where's the picture taker?
We have a whole
and the check.
so everybody in parks.
And the check. Oh, there you go. I love it. Oh. Look at this. All right. Again, thank you.
Me to say anything here?
Oh my goodness. It's really spectacular. We even have an employee that says they're willing to say something. That's in public.
Well, I do want to thank everybody in our department, from our maintenance staff, rec staff, open space, our rangers, our managers. I wouldn't be here where I am today without you guys. And last but never least, I want to thank the sheriff's office for always supporting. I've learned quite a bit. I'm very grateful for this, and it's an honor to work here.
Thank you.
Give you a real one.
Stop this from rolling all over. Okay, give it just a moment. Okay, we're going to come back to the agenda. Does any member of the board, anybody wanted something from consent? Nobody let me know. Okay. Supervisor Giomi, a motion, please.
Move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, 9A, 9B, 10A, 11A, 12A, 13A, 13B, 13C, and 14A, all as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're going to start our morning off with the sheriff's office. This is our presentation of the biennial report on the jail conditions and information concerning any deaths. I see Matt back there. Good morning. Good morning. All right.
While we're setting up, thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity to present the annual report on the detention center in Carson. And for those that haven't met, I think everybody up here has met Lieutenant Matt Smith, who is newly assigned to manage that division of the sheriff's office. So with
Is this
that,
day 5? Oh, no. Close?
with that, I believe we're ready to go, right, Matt?
I believe we are.
Thank you.
There we go. This is
And
new
I
to
know
me.
this will make sense to you. Green means go.
I do get that now.
See, I knew you would. You're like the first one I could try that on.
Love it. Okay, first and foremost, I do want to thank you all, Madam Mayor, and the entire Board of Supervisors for taking the time today to go over the State of the Jail report we're about to present to you today. First and foremost, why do we meet every year? Well, NRS 211, Chapter 211 does discuss that with us. I do want to bring up, if anyone wants to, from the board, come in and do a jail walkthrough, I am more than happy to take you through, explain some stuff if you have any questions for that. Just a quick summary of the state of jail before we get into the meat and potatoes of this. So far, within the last 6 months, we have had 1 death within our facility. Building maintenance records, about 288 service requests for 2014. Again, I do want to reflect, this is reflective of January through November. The current order are 6 outstanding service requests. For the detention medical staff, we annually consult about 4,080 inmates for various medical ailments. Currently, we've completed 4 CIP projects, and 1 of them is still being constructed. And currently, we are exploring different ideas for our inmate communication services within our jail. Quick overview of inmate population. On average, we house about 158 inmates per month. Average stay within our jail is about 108 days. The population breakdown is roughly 77% is going to be made up from the male, and then female is 23%. Inmate medical coverage. Again, each month, our detention medical staff averages about 370 inmate medical visits for various medical concerns. Keeping in mind, we have 2 medical staff coverage. We have a full-time APRN, and we do have a part-time registered nurse who works part-time with us about 3 days a week. That is just the medical portion. They also do work hand-in-hand with Dr. Joe. On average, our jail has about 6 medical emergencies per month. Medical emergencies for us, meaning the fire department, comes into our jail and makes those assessments, and sometimes they have to be taken to the hospital. The Carson City Fire Department makes all recommendations for the inmates to be transported, and then at which point we will follow them up so that way we can make sure we can house our inmate up there. Quickly overviewing our inmate death. July 15th, 2014, around 4:45 in the morning, our control unit received a notification from an inmate within his housing unit, within his cell. He notified deputies that there was an emergency within the cell. Our deputies immediately responded to that cell and noticed there was a 63-year-old male who was unconscious on his cell bunk. Deputies immediately started life-saving measures by providing CPR, chest compressions, and also the administration of an AED device. Deputies continued these life-saving measures until the fire department arrived and took over all medical treatment. The male was transported to the Carson Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased later in that morning. The coroner reports it was accurate as cardiac arrest, natural causes. Continuing into inmate medical coverage. Currently, we're exploring some different ideas within the medical field within our jail. 1, looking into hiring another full-time RN, possibly consulting with outside medical services to have full-time medical coverage within our jail, possibly hiring paramedics to aid with our medical intake screening process. This also helps offset large timeframes within our jail where we don't have medical coverage. Our APRN, our full-time employee, she works 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. Additional medical coverage would be used to help offset, again, those hours where we don't have coverage. Working our way into building maintenance. 2024, we had 288 building maintenance requests, and they were serviced by our building maintenance department. The material costs equated to about $23,000. They spent around 1,526 hours within our jail working on those various projects. Kitchen refrigeration is a larger issue we are looking into and exploring to replace at this point. Last year, we spent about $5,491 for service fees on that. And within our current fiscal year, we spent an additional $6,391 on refrigeration. That's why we're submitting a CIP request so we can update and repair and move forward with repairing all refrigeration within our jail. And again, 2024, the Sheriff's Office spent roughly $11,748 for additional outside maintenance requests. Looking for the future, CIP projects for 2025. The ones that we have completed for our current list was our Quick Kitchens dishwasher, repairing the drywall, the firewall behind all kitchen appliances, replacing the kitchen ceiling tiles. There's also refurbishment of the BK5 cell, which is our padded cell. Additionally, we do have one outstanding CIP request, which we are looking to close and begin construction in March. That would be the new booking counter, protective glass for our booking deputies and civilian staff. 5-year projects, bringing it up again. We repaired and spent roughly $5,491. We're looking to update that because when we go down on refrigeration, that also means we have health code we have to follow, which means all perishable foods, which could be within those facilities when they go down, has to be destroyed and removed. Last year, we lost about $1,700 worth of food when we lose power or refrigeration to all those units. Again, we are looking to repair them because at this point, they're about 30 years old, going on the date of the jail opening. Another avenue we're exploring as well is inmate communication services. Currently, we are contracted with IC Solutions. They are our current inmate communication provider. IC Solutions is, IC Solution is passing the cost of the transaction fees to us. That started on the 19th of November. What that means is the first 35 cents of each call is designated as a non-commissionable and charged to the sheriff's office. So currently their contract with us is going to be expiring within the next couple months. We're exploring different avenues to bring in a different vendor at this point. A newer unit within the jail, which we've been pushing for and is showing some success, is our family service units. On average, the family service units host weekly parenting classes within the jail. These classes encompass both male and female. The family service unit also provides GED, correctional or educational classes, GED preparatorial tests, in addition to child parenting classes. That's the focal point of this program, is to rehabilitate and offer all services we can when it comes to our children within our community and get these parents out of our custody so that way they don't come back in. Currently, the Family Service Unit is exploring the possibility of adding 10 tablets within our jail to aid in the educational classes. We are also looking forward to possibly future partnership with the University of Nevada, Reno and their Child Outreach Services program. So it goes beyond just the walls of the jail. It will go into the community, and that way we can continue our parenting classes within the community with those parents. Again, our overall goal of this unit is to reduce the recidivism of those incarcerated parents. Thank you for your time.
Does any member have a question? I guess I will, because, you know, you're new, so we have to congratulate you, and I've been letting everybody off the hook that's brand new, right? I know, I got to catch up some things. So can we go back to the slide on medical coverage, please?
Let's see.
In general, what I want to understand, and it may be that you can't answer me today, and that's okay, but when you talk about the time that you have your staff that's there, and for obvious reasons, it's Monday through Friday during the day. Do you know, though, are your medical calls really are concentrated during the day because it's people just asking for general medical, like I have a toothache, or I don't feel so good, or I'm sick, or I'm got a sinus infection? So does it fall generally appropriate to be a day shift versus the 6 on average medical that you're calling the fire department to come help you? Are those issues at night? I'm just trying to get an understanding, because you indicated in this report that you really feel you need to have some more coverage for the gap hours. So what's happening in those gap hours? Is what
Fair
I'm looking
question.
for.
So Monday through Friday, we do service all of our inmates. All inmate requests for medical assistant consultations, they use our kiosk service, which directly is answered by our medical staff. It does differentiate between Dr. Joe and specifically medical its staff as well. Monday through Friday, they do answer all inmate consultations. And again, that may not necessarily mean that they see them in person. Sometimes they just have a simple question of, hey, what is going on with my medication? Just had some questions about medication services or outside treatment because they know they're getting released. So not all inmates get seen. They can answer those questions through the kiosk. But going back to that question, Monday through Friday, we do answer all of those inmate requests at that point. After hours, we do have medical emergencies sometimes after hours where we don't have medical staff. And that's where we rely so heavily on our partners with the fire department to come in and make those decisions for us as to what we can do. Additionally, after hours, we do put a lot of pressure on our medical staff because they do answer the phone for us. We call them consistently when there are questions about inmates coming in with detox protocol and how to set them up. So we do need that additional after hours, which would be to make those assessments, because during those business hours of 7 or 8 to 3, we do have medical staff. All arrestees who come into our facility are assessed and they're given the clearance to come on in, or sometimes the medical staff says, yes, this person needs probably to go to the hospital because there's some underlying condition. After hours, we don't have that coverage. So a lot of that is taken upon our staff to recognize signs and symptoms so that way they can make a proper medical decision as to this person should go to the hospital first or we feel comfortable taking them in.
Okay. And then you talked about a loss on the food and for the refrigeration. So do we have a plan when it's down to transfer food? Because you really do have some time unless you didn't know it was down for temperature control for hours. But I mean, do we have a plan for if we have an emergency or it's down that we can transfer that food and save it? Or if not, can we look to something and maybe work with the health department to design something? I know in the restaurant business, we borrowed each other's refrigerators, right? You go next door and say, I want yours. And then you did the same for them because things do happen with gauges and all that other good kind of stuff. But I hate to see that it's actually thrown away. So I just ask that you guys work on a plan, because even if you get a brand new refrigerator coming up in the CIP, doesn't mean it'll always function and hold temperature. So just would like you to work on that if you can, please.
Absolutely.
And then on the inmate communication services, you talk about the 35 cents that's now charged to us. Was that within the contract? Was there a law change? What precipitated the 35-cent charge to us?
So that would have been a law change that came through.
So it would not matter the vendor?
And that's, again, kind of to debate at this point. IC Solutions has chosen to go ahead and follow through, but at this point, there is research being done that multiple AGs across the nation are actually filing against this.
Yeah, to say it's not our responsibility to pay 35, well, the taxpayer's responsibility to pay.
Yeah, correct. As of this
When I
moment,
say
it is.
we, I mean all of us, right? Okay, well, I appreciate that. Anyone else? Questions? Supervisor Shooty?
Thank you for the great presentation, and I just want to applaud you and the team for the family service, that unit. I just think collaboration is always really important, and that goal of reducing recidivism for these parents and to help strengthen those family ties and to help them engage in healthier behavior. So I appreciate that so much. So well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions or anything? Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to go to agenda item 17A, which will become our standing. I can't believe it's 2 years and here we go again, but we will have our standing agenda item to discuss any legislation that is out there that this board needs to opine on. And Mr. Gresh will give us the reports every board meeting. So let's start us off. Cameron?
Thank you, Mayor. Cameron Gresh, Carson City Government Affairs. For the record, the 83rd session of the Nevada Legislature will convene on Monday, February 3rd, and conclude on Monday, June 2nd. The purpose of this agenda item, which will appear as a standing item on every board meeting during the session, is to allow the board to discuss legislation of interest to the city, receive information from staff regarding the status of proposed legislation, and to issue direction to staff concerning the board's official position on any legislation should it choose to take one. The list of legislation that the city is tracking is available online at carson.org/legislature and is updated daily. Currently, 245 bills have been pre-filed for the upcoming session by individual legislators and legislative committees. Of these, Carson City is currently tracking 132 bills, with new ones being added as the text for them is released by the Legislative Counsel Bureau on the Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, or NELIS, website. Among them is AB 32, which is Carson City's own bill requesting that the Interim Growth and Infrastructure Committee conduct a study analyzing the Virginia and Truckee Railways operations and sustainability during the legislature's 2025 to 2026 interim, which the board approved for submission to the legislature at its November 7th, 2024 meeting. Carson City has begun interacting with the membership of both the Senate and Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committees to familiarize them with the legislation in preparation for the start of session. Additionally, Carson City's Health and Human Services Department was invited by Senate Health and Human Services Committee Chairman Fabian Donate to participate in a roundtable discussion with other county health authorities on health policy issues ahead of this session. That meeting is happening tomorrow. While the majority of the bills that Carson City will engage with during session have not yet been filed, both the municipal and county level advocacy organizations to which Carson City belongs, with those being the Nevada Association of Counties and the Nevada League of Cities, have introduced their own lists of legislation in preparation for the start of session, on which I will now report. NACO has Assembly Bill 14, which would require county elected officials to be registered voters in addition to being qualified electors, which would include the Carson City Board of Supervisors. The League of Cities has AB 51, which allows government entities to collect a fee for fulfilling a public record request if they have established a written policy with a method for calculating the fee and provided the requester a written notice of the fee before preparing the request. It also requires a public record request to be in writing and to contain identifying information of the requester. The League also has Senate Bill 51, which creates the Account for Housing Expansion through local partnerships that authorizes funds in the account to reimburse cities and counties for the cost of reducing or subsidizing certain fees to assist in maintenance and development of affordable housing, those being impact fees and the like. NACO has Senate Bill 65, which is in addition to NRS Chapter 259 to clarify that certain records of a medical examiner or coroner are public records. This is a clarification. While the report itself is a public record, certain information on the report, such as confidential, privileged, or unrelated items, may be redacted by the coroner. Further, the coroner may withhold from the public any document or record related to a homicide or death where the manner is undetermined, pending an investigation by either the coroner or law enforcement. And finally, NACO also had Senate Bill 73, which requires county and city clerks to allow anyone to inspect registered voter signatures, however, prohibits clerks from providing or allowing a copy of the registered voter signature. There will, of course, be more legislation in the coming days that we can go over. The list, again, which is available on carson.org/legislature, has the full list of legislation that we're tracking, which the board is free to bring up at any meeting because of its presence on the website. With that being said, I'm ready to receive direction on any of the bills I've just summarized for you or any others that the board may wish to discuss at this time.
Thank you. Supervisor White?
Thank you. In the agenda title here, it talks about a page on our website, the city website, where we can look at the bill numbers that the Board of Supervisors have given you direction on. It doesn't appear that that's necessarily live and active at this time. I mean, it does come up. When do you expect to have a current list of bills that Carson City is tracking on there?
Thank you, Supervisor. To my knowledge, the list is live and is updated daily, which would include today. And I've been on the website as recently as this morning, and it is up and live and publicly accessible.
Maybe repeat the URL.
Yeah. So the URL is carson.org/legislature.
I was on it last night. Yeah, I checked it.
Yeah,
I check the links all the time, so it's like, did we write that right? So it's live. Okay, Supervisor Giomi.
Just, one that that NACO pursued along with some other elected official associations last session, and that I have a lot of interest in is elected official pay bill. So when I'm pretty sure a legislator is going to introduce that. I don't know if BDR has dropped. I know their deadlines are longer, and it may not have dropped yet, but that's one I'm very interested in. I think, again, it is proposed to be permissive language to basically get the state out of setting local elected official salaries and let the local governments make that decision based on their budget and their community's needs. I think it's vitally necessary for what I'll call our professional elected officials as opposed to people like us.
You're not a professional?
Well,
Sorry, I know what you
I think I'm maybe
Full-time?
less professional than Scott and Andy and, Sheriff. So, but,
Full-time?
I think it's a critical bill because in a lot of communities, ours included, our elected officials' pay is lagging the employees that work with them. And I'm concerned that we're going to reach a point where quality is going to suffer, quite frankly, because the work that those elected officials have to do and the scrutinization that they undergo is not commensurate with the pay they're receiving. So anyway, I'm hoping that that you'll keep us posted when you see that drop and maybe let us know individually so we can take a look at the language.
Absolutely. This time, I have not seen it in the 245 bills that have been dropped, but we're getting new batches every day, maybe 5 to 10, and so I will alert you the minute that I see that one come through.
Do we feel the need at this time to consider supporting NACO and the League of Cities bills so that Cameron could testify?
Having just heard of them just now,
Longer?
I don't know how we could have any consideration to support any bill. I can't sit here and
You
just
haven't read
off
them yet.
a rough description even less than the LCB puts out to support or not support a bill.
Rest of the, I can see the clerk has raised his hand.
Scott Hohen, the clerk. There's also Senator Daley. Daley has introduced a BDR doing something similar to that. So you might want to keep your eye on that one when it gets posted.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay,
That's the elected officials pay bill.
okay.
Yeah. I didn't know if, I didn't know if he had dropped the BDR yet.
It just hasn't been, the official text hasn't been dropped, just like Mo's been talking about.
Well, the NACO and the League of City ones are,
The full
language
text
is
out.
there. I mean, I
Yes.
reviewed it last night and it is all there.
Yes.
And again, it's at the pleasure of whether you're ready for us to take action or not ready.
I am. I mean, I reviewed them in anticipation of this bill. I could make a motion. We'll see where it goes. I move to support the,
Let me do one thing
Go
then.
ahead.
So you're ready to move to a motion. Is there public comment on this item? If there's anybody that has a piece of legislation or something they want to have us consider. Okay, Supervisor Giomi, a motion?
I move to support the Nevada League of Cities and Nevada Association of Counties bill drafts as presented on the record or read into the record.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
And that makes perfect sense if you haven't had a chance to read them, right? Obviously, Stacy and I are ahead of the game because we serve on NACO and the league, so we've been reading them for months on end.
Well, that's my point. I haven't had an opportunity
Right,
to
so-
consider them.
Right.
I probably would support them, but I don't know.
Yep, that's fine. And I said, if you hadn't had a chance to read them, I completely understand. Okay, thank you. Cameron, just double check, any other bill or anything on the horizon that any of you know might be coming down the pike? That you want Cameron to specifically look for so he can put it on that list for the public and everyone? Anybody?
Not at this time, but I'm sure I will.
Okay, just in case, so that we can have you be looking and helping the public stay informed. Okay, thank you so much. And we'll, again, for the public, we'll be doing this every meeting for a little while now, so thanks. Yeah, it'll go fast, though. It really will. All right, we're up for agenda item 18A, which is discussion and possible action regarding the adoption of the Carson City Plan of Corrective Action for the fiscal year 23-24, statutory violations included in the annual audit. I'm assuming you all had a chance to read Ms. Benaboo's memo, but is there any specific questions, thoughts, anything there that we need to address? No, they're pretty minor.
And I will say, we did discuss these on December 19th when I
Already.
approved the ACFR, just for the public's knowledge.
Right.
However, the taxation is requiring a plan, and they want it approved by you, so here it is.
So guess better, would you? That's the plan.
That's my goal, thank you. Every year, I
Yes.
try to guess perfectly.
There you go. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing that. Okay, I'll accept a motion. Supervisor Schutte.
I move to adopt the Carson City Plan of Corrective Action.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're on to agenda item 19A, discussion and possible action regarding proposed revisions to the Carson City Treasurer's investment policy of surplus money and management of the investment portfolio. Treasurer Razor, good morning. Good morning. You've been working hard. Yes, we have. There you go.
There it goes.
I have to say green means go, because you're the
It
second
does,
one
but-
today, so.
I got these progressive lenses on, so it doesn't shift right for me. So getting used to them. So bear with me. What we have before you here today is the annual review of the investment policy, which is required by Carson City Charter. And so just to bring those who aren't in the citizenry up to date as to why we do investments, Nevada revised statutes, primarily under 355, allow for government entities to invest surplus funds utilizing different measures or different investment means. And so as I explained to individuals, government investment differs significantly compared to private investment. With private investment that we do for our own personal finances, we have a lot more options. For example, we can invest in cryptocurrency if we like. Government investments do not allow us to invest in cryptocurrency. Nevada Revised Statute 355, 350, and 356 specifically identify which investment means a government entity such as Carson City can invest those surplus funds, for the length of maturity, the types of investments. And so it really spells out how we invest those funds. And so government investment is actually a pretty good thing for us because when you get down to it, investments are one of the few ways that governments can make money without having to tax or bill citizens. So there's very few ways that we can do that, and investments do provide that opportunity to earn money while we're sitting on these funds while we're waiting to use them. And so that's also spelled out in the policy. As far as the investment policy for this year, it is very similar to last year's policy with some few changes, and that's noted in the red line version. A lot of the changes we made were just updates to Nevada Revised Statute language to be consistent with the Government Investment Officers Association, or GIOA, and then also with our investment advisors, which we have 3, which is Buckhead Capital, GPA, which is Government Portfolio Advisors, and Meter advise us to keep that policy in line with best practices and also with GIOA. So what is reflected here are those changes. And like I said, it is very similar to last year's policy, which you reviewed.
Thank you so much. Is there anything major that you really think is shifting what you're going to do? So
That's a good question, because when you look at the Federal Reserve and the Federal Open Market Committee, you have a bunch of individuals who have doctorates in economics, and they can't even agree on how the state of the economy is going to go. So to kind of try to use a crystal ball or the magic 8 ball to decide, it's very difficult, but that is one of the things that with that investment policy, it gives us an outline of how we're going to invest and what we're going to invest in. Sometimes it comes down to the strategy. So as we start to see the market shift right now, we've been having these high interest rates, especially on the short term with that inverted yield curve, where your 2-year treasuries are doing a lot better than your 10-year treasuries. Because one of the things with investments is that the longer you keep your money invested, you should get a higher return on it. And that's what we haven't seen because of the economy these last few years. Well, that's starting to change. So when you start to see the Federal Reserve start to drop those interest rates on the federal fund rates, that is going to impact things. But we're also coming into a new administration. You're starting to see the market do little shakeups every time. One candidate or the incoming president might say something, or the outgoing president say something, that kind of does impact it. So when they say that economics is supposed to be separate from politics, that is definitely not the case. So one of the things that, if I had to answer your question as to what we're doing, is we're starting to layer out the portfolio more to where before we had items that were more short-term because the investment rate was better, but now we're going to start to layer it out towards the longer mark, going from the 5-year to the 10-year. Before we were more, 5 years and under. And in speaking with our investment advisors, we are starting to do that, where we're starting to layer out more so that we may not have the same percentage rate, but 5 years from now, or 6 years, 7 years, when we're starting to see that maturity, it's coming in at a better rate than what we would have had at the time. So that's part of our investment strategy at this time.
thank you. I don't see that any other members have a question. So is there any public comment on this item? Mr. French?
One.
Denny French, Carson City, Nevada, thank you. Page 386 of the packet suggests that scope on 1.6 point,
386, page 5 of the policy,
yes.
1.6 scope.
On scope, thank you very much. I'm learning a lot from having read the agenda items, but that the following funds include the following, sorry. General fund, special revenue funds, capital project funds, enterprise funds, thank you, debt service funds, internal service funds, trust and agency funds, federal economic stimulus or rescue plan funds. I'm a little leery about investing in anything right now, but just saving the money as we can. We're always told we don't have enough, and to put it into any kind of speculative situation is always a little worrisome to me, but especially now. So this part on the scope, I understand investment. In fact, I've put things into, when I'm able to put things in try to put money away, but I don't necessarily gamble with it. And to me, investments of some of these, since I haven't read the review of what each of those are putting their money into, is a little iffy in that we always are considering the fact that we don't have enough money. Are we making enough money off of these investments to make management of it worthwhile? And so I know I'm sorry, is it okay to say that Mr. Razor is a busy man, and keeping people in touch with and on top of all of these investments seems like a reach for us right now, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment?
Just,
Seeing none.
oh, can I ask one question?
Certainly.
I'm not the public, but I guess I am
Certainly.
kind of.
We'll bring it back up here.
Andrew, just in really broad terms, in the last year, whatever that year period is, about how much money did we make off these investments? Ballpark. Yeah, I just don't.
Your mic.
Was, we made about 6.6 million in interest. And so that is an accumulative between essentially our four investment portfolios, between LGIP, GPA meter, and Buckhead Capital. So yeah, this is money that we are making. And so to get to Mr. French's point about the scope, these are actually identified in Nevada revised statute when you look at general funds, special revenue funds. So for example, when the city takes out a bond, such as what we did, a $5.5 million bond for parks, while that money is sitting there waiting to be applied, we can actually invest it to get a few extra bucks. And that helps us out. So we've seen this in all the construction projects and everything, that the cost of services, the cost of materials have gone up significantly, and what we maybe had budgeted for before may not be enough to cover it or what have you, but having these investments actually allow us to make money while our money is sitting there instead of just sitting in the bank.
I would say 6.6 million is worth the time.
It is.
Yeah.
And we do contract out with the three different investment advisors, because investments are very tricky as far as knowing the market, knowing what you can do, what you can't. And so it is wise to have, those investment advisors that specialize that and have the certification to do that. I don't have those certifications like they do, but we pay them good money to do that for us, and we see the returns that we're making on our investment portfolio.
Thank you. Okay. Supervisor Giomi, are you ready for a motion?
I didn't know you were going to call on me, but I absolutely am ready. I move to approve the policy revisions as presented.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, let the record reflect. Is there any no's? Let the record reflect it was unanimous. All right, we're now going to move to, thank you, Andy. Agenda item 20A, which is discussion and possible action on a request to amend a tentative subdivision map for tentative subdivision map 19-054 for Blackstone Ranch South. Heather, are you going to take us through this item?
I'd be happy to. Heather Manzo for the record. So as you may recall, Blackstone South is located at the eastern terminus of Railroad Drive and to the south of the Carson City Linear Park parcel and to the west, obviously, of Interstate 580. What the applicant is requesting is amendment to a couple of conditions that prohibited the ability for the applicant to bond the site improvement work that's necessary to develop the project. In 2019, those conditions were approved with the project, and it's not really customary for us to limit bonding ability for a tentative map because the site improvements most often aren't done before the final map records.
So what this is showing is the on-site subdivision layout and the extension of Railroad Drive to East Fifth Street. Those Railroad Drive extension from the project site to East Fifth Street are off-site improvements that go through the Lanier Park site as well as another private property. With this request, there are no changes to the development as was previously approved. It's really just about bonding and then some clarification items that staff had recommended. So with that, the applicant had requested modifications to allow bonding of improvements to eliminate that language that prohibited the bonding. So that's contained in condition 13 and 20. When staff was reviewing the application request, we reviewed the conditions and provided some clarification to condition number 17 to really make it clear that all construction traffic is intended to and should use access off of East Fifth Street. Back when the project was approved in 2019, there were residents that live off of the Railroad Drive neighborhood that were really concerned about a lot of construction traffic going through their neighborhood. So that condition was placed on the project, but it wasn't ultra clear, so we wanted to provide that clarification. And then condition number 43 noted an incorrect area calculation for an existing access easement that needs to be relocated. So rather than restate the easement size, I plopped the document number that identifies that square footage in condition number 43. So as this project was being reviewed prior to the board meeting, Supervisor Schutte did give us a call and ask a question about whether or not that pro rata share for the signalization that's contained in condition 19 should be updated since this project's almost 6 years old. And that's a valid question. So we did ask Public Works about that, and they provided me an updated number that's around $1.45 million for the signalization. So the cost has increased substantially since the time the project was approved. So what condition 19 is showing here is if the board chooses to include in a motion to update that number, we've provided a number for you. I do want to clarify that pro rata share has not changed. The 3.53 is still the cost estimate for this project. And we did speak with the applicant and confirmed that they're not going to oppose any change to that condition. And I have Casey Jones and Ken Anderson with the applicant team with us today. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Does any member have a question? No? So go ahead. Supervisor Schutte.
Hi, I would just like to discuss the bonding. When I went back and watched the meetings in 2019, I know Supervisor Bonkowski specifically spoke a lot to this and just wanting to ensure that the road be completed and any usage, that the condition be excellent when Carson City takes it over. What is going to ensure that that happens with the changes in the bonding?
So as we work through the final map process, the first step is to submit and get approval for and issue a site improvement permit for the work. So that would include the access coming off of East Fifth Street and through development, the utility infrastructure, the roadway infrastructure, things like that. So with that comes a cost estimate for that permit. And oftentimes that work is not complete before they go vertical and start selling houses. And so what the bonding will allow for is for them to pull the permits, start the work, but not complete the work until they're ready to start letting loose homes or sometime right before that. So it's built into our conditions and building permit format that they would have to have the improvements complete before they start selling. So staff didn't have any concerns at all with removing that language from the request.
And the bond guarantees the work
The bond
gets
does,
done. I mean, that's the whole point. The bond itself means we can issue the work and take the bond to do it.
we can, and we wouldn't
We won't
final.
want to, but
Yeah,
we
we
could.
wouldn't, we also wouldn't final any homes and allow
Right.
for them to be sold without
Right.
that in place.
that's the leverage. That's right.
Casey Jones, DR Horton for the record, to answer also directly. We physically can't construct the subdivision until the road's complete. We have no way to access the site until the extension is complete to the subdivision. Also, one of the previous conditions says that we can't bring construction traffic in from the western existing subdivision. So we do have to build the road to even get to the subdivision before we could even touch dirt there. So.
I understand that, and thank you, and that's good to know, but just also to make sure that when the roads, or when it comes to Carson City and we accept it, that it is, the damage caused by the construction vehicles, if you will, that has been corrected. Just making sure that that's included.
Yes, so with the final map process, what it says in one of the notes is that the rights-of-way are offered for dedication at the time of the final map. However, they're deferred until a later date. So the city has a practice of not accepting those roadways until full inspections have been conducted, and we can verify it's been constructed to city standards and there isn't any damage in the roadway.
Excellent, thank you.
Supervisor Giammi.
You know, I, along with the mayor, was on the board when we did this, and there was a considerable amount of concern from the neighborhood about access and you know, off of Railroad Drive, and that was the reason we pushed, and they agreed to construct the road ahead of time. So why, when the agreement before indicated they were willing to do that, are we now being requested to change this?
I think the primary concern was really about the construction traffic, and so for construction traffic, they generally aren't going to want to fully improve that roadway to city standards because it will get damaged with the traffic that's coming through for construction. So they'll improve the roadway to get construction, traffic back and forth, and then they'll come back and finish the roadway to make it look nice for residents and to turn it over to the city. So the reason to allow it is to allow for the construction to take place so that they can actually build the project, and the roadway will be complete before the project is complete.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. I was there at that
So
meeting.
was I.
2019.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. And I asked Supervisor Schutte, who watched the 2019 film. I'm going from my memory, which I hope is consistent with the film. I asked her to flag it if I was wrong. What happened at that meeting is we then had a city engineer, Dan Stuckey. I remember that. And when we brought that to the board, what it showed was an emergency access to Firebox, which is by the school. That's what we brought forward to the board, not 2 full points of access, because at that time, the applicant, who was not DR Horton, had not been able to negotiate anything different with the Lampa family. And the board said, no, that's not good enough. We need 2 full points of access, not 1 full point and 1 emergency only access. So the board rejected that. So at the meeting, the staff was trying to work with the board on a condition that would ensure that the access from 5th Street was constructed before anything else, and that the construction traffic would utilize that roadway. And so the solution that the staff came up with, without, in fairness, at the meeting with the board and the applicant at that time, was, okay, you're not allowed to bond. You've got to build this road. And, okay, so what changed? What changed is the applicant, who is now DR Horton, has worked and negotiated a solution with Lampa, which also satisfies the Parks Department, because that was another challenge, is that easement going over the linear park couldn't grow. So they had this puzzle to put together. Well, they thought they had the puzzle put together and everything was good to go, when all of a sudden the Army Corps of Engineers took jurisdiction on the Lampa land where the road will go through. And that's creating a time issue. And for them to have to work through the Army Corps of Engineers to be able to construct that road, which will go from 5th to the subject property, is going to cause the map to expire. They can't get that road built in time. So they did approach the staff and said, this is our situation. We want, and I'll call on Casey as DR Horton's representative to validate everything I'm saying. But DR Horton asked for a meeting with staff, and I'm sorry if I'm going really deep into this, but
No,
I want you to know. So DR Horton said, oh my gosh, we had no idea the Army Corps is taking this jurisdiction. They're going to take a really long time. The map's going to expire. We want to build the project. Is there any way we can work through this? We 100% will build that road from 5th to the subject property. We 100% will send the traffic, and it's condition 17, the new wording there says it. We will do those things, 100%. We will commit to that, but we don't want the map to expire. And so that's the language you're looking at. And I believe, and I think Heather worked really well with D.R. Horton and with Ken and Stephen, and they all came up with language that reflects the intent of the 2019 meeting, but not necessarily saying you're not allowed to bond. So that's kind of the background and why we're here today. Thank you.
And on a tentative map, it's 4 and 2 in terms of years, and that's it, correct? Absent
correct.
ordinance change, that's,
Well, actually,
or is there another?
the first map is 4 years,
Correct.
yes.
And
So
then you
they
can get
ha-
an extension
they can get an extension.
of
And
2,
I
correct?
really don't want to do an extension on this one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So maybe I can clarify something in my mind, having been there too, is what I want to do is meet the objectives, and I think that's, or honestly, get something better. And so if I'm not mistaken, I'm getting something better. I mean, right? Because I'm solving for the park condition on our linear park. So we're improving the condition of where we were in 2019 with an emergency and using bollards. I remember all these discussions. So while generally we don't amend maps, I feel strongly that when we're going to put the property in a better condition with these amendments, we should definitely be looking at it. And the fact that something I find interesting is your thoughts on condition 19 changing. While you're keeping the percentage, you're changing the amount not to exceed. I feel very mixed about that because I'm this big fairness doctrine kind of person, and we don't do that to anyone else, but they also don't bring their maps. That's not what we do. We always have a maximum for that developer to know a cost center that they're funding to. But since you brought it to ask for the amendment because you don't want your map to expire, that all makes complete sense to me. So I appreciate that you're also recognizing that 3.53% is just not the same number it was 6 years ago. So I thank you for that. And I think if I don't see a room full of the residents that came to us on this project. And so I feel that this has met the need. And so I can support where we're going on this because we're getting a better product.
Can I ask one more
Sure.
question? I guess directly to D.R. Horton, what are you not holding you to this? Just looking for an approximation of what you think the timing of this looks like as it rolls forward? And again, the caveat that it's a guess, I get it.
Absolutely. So I can't agree more with Hope. She did that perfectly, so I won't even go back into the past. She nailed all those timelines. Going forward, we're currently in the process of moving forward with our 404 permit with the Army Corps because it takes time. We're coming up on almost a year in that process of meetings and negotiations. And after all that is hammered out, we won't even really be able to start physical construction of the home subdivision till at best case scenario, 12 to 14 months from now. Because we have to get through all the regulatory stuff with the federal government. So that means at best case scenario, we would love to start the roadway improvements by end of summer and early fall of this year to get us into a place where we could start the subdivision next spring or next
after
summer.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back up here then for a motion. And if we're inclined to do this, the motion instead of as presented also needs to indicate changes to condition 19 as discussed. So don't forget to, or it won't work. Supervisor Shute, are you doing it? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I move to approve, I need glasses. I move to improve my reading. I move to approve the amendment to the tentative subdivision map based on the ability to make the required findings and subject to the conditions of approval presented this morning, including changes to condition 19.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. Good luck with the Army Corps of Engineer. It only takes 6 years for a lands bill that we don't get either, so, good luck. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item 20B as in boy, discussion and possible action regarding direction to staff to serve notice of and in order to appear and show cause why business license 008595-2024 issued to M.Y. Macis Gomez. I'm gonna need glasses too. The second LLC. Doing business as My Vape and Smoke Shop located should not come for cause. Ms. Sullivan, you want to talk about why we
Thank
need a
you.
hearing potentially?
Yes, first I'll introduce Sergeant Samantha Torres, who's joining me on this. We've been working together on a number of things, including this. So it's a good relationship with the sheriff's office. So Municipal Code 404-210 establishes the reasons and the process for suspending, canceling, or revoking a business license. The suspension, cancellation, or revocation may occur for, quote, good cause, which includes the commission of, or permitting, or causing the commission of any act in the operation of a business, which action is made unlawful or is prohibited by any ordinance, rule, or law of Carson City, the state, or the federal government. The subject business, M.Y. Macias Gomez 2 LLC, doing business as My Vape and Smoke Shop at 1800 East William Street, sold drug paraphernalia and vapes that contain THC-A on October 23rd, 2024. This is a violation of NRS 453.560, which states it's illegal to sell drug paraphernalia, and NRS 687B.530, which states that only a person who holds an adult use cannabis license or a medical cannabis license may sell cannabis. Because of this, I am asking the board to direct staff to serve the business owner with a notice of and an order to appear before this board on February 20th, 2025, not before 9 a.m. for a show cause hearing. If you agree, then you will conduct the hearing at that time. We will talk more specifically about the details and the sheriff's experience at this particular property. And the property or the business owner will have their opportunity to speak to you.
Does any member have a question? Supervisor Giomi.
I assume that in addition to this, the sheriff's office is taking other legal action, that this isn't the only thing that's occurred or occurring. So in other words, we haven't waited since October when we discovered this illegality to just do a business license event. There is other enforcement action, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So there's criminal action being taken upon an employee at that shop.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else with any other questions? Okay, Supervisor White?
Thank you. I'm curious on this paraphernalia deal. What characteristics of this piece of paraphernalia makes it a meth pipe?
I apologize. I need to get familiar with this thing.
We're going to have the ongoing joke, green means go. We're going to put a big sign up.
So my team, the special enforcement team, received information that the shops around town were selling drug paraphernalia, and citizens were going into these shops asking for quote unquote oil burners. And also quags. So oil burners are considered to be methamphetamine pipes, and the quags are the methamphetamine bongs. And what makes them specifically drug paraphernalia is you have a glass stem, you have a bulb, and then as soon as they put that hole on the top, that's what makes it the drug paraphernalia, because that's the sole purpose for that device is to smoke methamphetamine.
Nothing else could be smoked in that pipe?
No. That is the sole purpose for that device.
Surely you jest.
Excuse me?
Surely you jest. Nothing else could be smoked in that pipe?
Correct, yeah. And on July 18th, we went around to all the businesses and advised them of what each of the devices were. And we educated them, and they all advised that they were either unaware or they would just stop selling them.
So their knowledge of the specific use of this pipe came from you?
Excuse me?
The store owner's specific knowledge of the specific use of this device came from you?
My team educated them when we went out on July 18th, yes.
Thank you.
Are these devices described in the statute?
Yes, as drug paraphernalia. So there is no other purpose for this based on our training experience. And the shop owners have acknowledged that they know what they're used for, and they were selling them under the impression that they were devices used to smoke methamphetamine.
Thank you.
So I just want to, on the record in my mind, so first you did a training and a warning to this particular business that they had in their store devices that were considered drug paraphernalia. So there was a training opportunity to, and you're saying the other businesses in town, oh, okay, didn't realize it and quit selling it, and this one did not. And so when you went back in October, you found a potential violation. And so that's why you're asking us to then do this, because they didn't heed the first warning. So it's not that they didn't get a warning.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we took a day to go to all the businesses in town, and they
Okay.
were all advised.
I just want to make sure that, again, they had an opportunity in the first place to comply.
Yes, there's no
Okay.
enforcement action taken in the first round,
Thank
just
you.
educational.
Right, thank you.
And just to reinforce Supervisor Giomi's question, the criminal activity has occurred. It's because of the criminal activity that did occur that I'm suggesting that this board conduct the hearing.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Supervisor Shute?
I move to direct staff to serve notice of and in order to appear and show cause as presented, and to schedule the show cause hearing for February 20th, 2025, not before 9 a.m.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we're now on to, excuse me, agenda item 20C, discussion and possible action regarding the master plan annual report from the Planning Commission. Ms. Sullivan?
Okay, this will be briefer than most others
That
in
happens.
past years.
Yeah.
Okay, so per NRS 278190, the Planning Commission annually makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors regarding the implementation of the master plan. When I talk about the master plan under this item, I'm talking about the 2006 adopted master plan. On December 17, 2024, the Planning Commission reviewed the master plan. And given the Planning Commission spent the last year working with the consultants on the master plan update, they didn't do a review of every single work item because that review's sort of been done in looking at the update. So the only sort of work item that they've identified for the coming year that would be outside the master plan update would be a zoning map correction for the Silver Oak Golf Course. The Silver Oak PUD was approved in 1993. 45% of the land was, at that time, as part of the planned unit development, was protected up as open space with 62% of that open space being utilized as a golf course. It also serves an important drainage function. The master plan land use designation is open space, which is appropriate because the planned unit development identified it as open space. But the zoning is single-family 12,000. Well, it's single-family 12,000 planned unit development, which means you go back to the planned unit development to see what the use is supposed to be. But it just creates confusion when you zone it for single-family when it's supposed to be open space and a golf course per the terms of the planned unit development. So to ensure master plan consistency and that the function of the land remains as intended in the 1993 approval, the Planning Commission is recommending that the golf course be rezoned to Conservation Reserve Planned Unit Development. And if you agree that this should, I'm going to call it, be put on the to-do list, you are not rezoning this land. You're not even agreeing to rezone the land. What you would be doing is saying, yes, you should take the steps to pursue this, and then we would, Planning Commission would conduct public hearings, you'd conduct public hearings, you'd consider the ordinance. So this is simply saying that the staff you're authorizing staff to initiate these hearings, but it's not before you for an approval. That would come at a later time. And that's all I have.
Does any member have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hope, just thinking about the master plan and the land use zoning component with the updated master plan, it almost makes my head spin to think that we're going to have to go through this whole thing and just the entire planning staff, his eyeballs are spinning around in their head. So I guess my question is, I guess as a matter of course, you have to do this presentation. They came up with something. But I guess my comment is we're going to be doing this likely across the whole city, right? I mean, so I mean, I guess I understand why we're doing, but it's like, is there even a point in doing this or passing this now? And when, in my estimation, this would just get rolled in with everything else, right?
This would just be a timing differentiator. And actually, if I could, there's something I had asked the city manager to announce, but I'll just speak to it now if it's okay. The city manager and I spoke, and she suggested or expressed concern, and I think it came from some of you, about what you're describing and the fact that when we adopt this master plan and we have these new land use designations, to a certain extent, it's going to create zoning map amendments or changes. And so, or amendments. So what we're planning to do is the Planning Commission will conduct their public hearing on the master plan as we always assumed in February. Then we thought in March it would come before you for adoption. Instead, once I have an action or a recommendation from the Planning Commission, because I don't want to do it in advance of that, because I need an official action. Right. We will then send a postcard to any property owner whose property is going to get a new land use designation. Luckily, a lot of our residential stuff's going to stay the same. The industrial, like up by the airport, stays the same. But the others will have a new designation. And send them a postcard to make them aware of it, advise them where the map is, advise them this may create the need for a new zoning, for rezoning, and invite them to come talk to us. That will also be a little bit of quality control, we think. And so we're going to move the board review and approval or anticipated approval of the master plan from March to April. So March will be the time when we're contacting property owners and having those conversations and potentially refining it. Okay, that was kind of an off-topic but tangential thing. So can Silver Oak wait? Yeah, it's been there since '93. It can wait.
Yeah. I like the approach you're taking. I think it does give, because the ultimate goal in my mind is to match the land use designation with the actual zoning, which we know has created problems for this board, and I think we're all probably in agreement that we all want that. So it makes the most sense to go about doing it this way. And if we do this in advance of that, it's probably not that big a deal. It was just sort of curious. So,
I think it really brings up a huge discussion point too, so that, let's say you send out those postcards and there's 572 properties or something that are impacted. I think something that's different than when we did the 2006 master plan, and it's probably, I think for Stacy and I are remembering all these years we've been doing this, and then even the later board members adding in. I think it's imperative that this time, which did not happen last time, that, like you said, the zoning is aligned. We have got to do that. And so my question, and the reason I'm going to go with Stacy a little bit, I don't think we should take action today on this item, is who pays and how is it initiated? And I would like Silver Oak to be treated the same way, whatever we're going to do with all the other parcels that are going to be impacted in the master plan. Because I know in the 2006, the opinion was, well, we'll let the property owner bring the zoning amendment and pay for it when they're actually going to do something with the property, and then they have to say how they align to the master plan. And I just don't think that's good practice on the part. So I want to wait on this till we understand how we're going to implement the master plan and zoning changes reflecting that master plan, and that we treat all properties and everything at the same time with that. And I don't want to say clean up because that doesn't sound good, but we just
Alignment.
we just align the whole process
And more
at
to your
once.
point, in 2006, I think
Yeah.
I was involved as a city staffer on that, not at a policy level, but the thought was that we wouldn't burden the taxpayers with the cost of doing the changes. It would be borne by the developer. But in retrospect, the sort of mistake behind that was that, people look at zoning, they seldom look at the master plan.
Correct.
And, it created a false sense of understanding. So I think alignment is critical in this round. And so I would agree, there's no need to do it now. We can do it all at one time and, send a postcard to every address in Carson, which is probably going to be pretty close to that. I know, but close.
Do you have
It's
any
gonna be-
idea though, how
it's gonna
many
be close.
parcels
We may have
are
to
impacted?
supplement your
No,
postage budget.
what we have done so far is we've just had the consultant do the comparison and send us an Excel spreadsheet basically of the list. I received that, but I had somebody on my staff just verify we could create labels. We'd be able to work with that list to create mailing labels through using the assessor's data. And I didn't look at the numbers, I was looking at logistics, so.
Yeah, I have a feeling it may not even be April. We'll see what you get from the comments from the postcards, right? Because we want to make sure there's nothing that you learn from the property owners, that even though we've been doing a master plan update for a very long time, I'm willing to take a bet, right, that somebody's going to get a postcard and say, what are you doing to me?
And this is
So-
the perfect opportunity
yes.
to take a breath, to get that info out there for despite all the listening sessions you've done, and we've all applauded you for
Yes.
that and your staff.
Yes, this is
It
a
just
final
gives
step.
us one final step
Yes.
that we can say we've really done everything we can, and maybe there is something that we didn't catch, that
Or the
you didn't
planning
catch,
commission,
that
right.
will get pointed out by this.
No, 100%. And actually, I think it was the mayor's idea. It came through the city manager, so I don't know 100%.
It is me.
But truthfully,
wait.
when the city manager and deputy city manager brought it to me, I said, that's a really good idea. Because I do think it's a really good idea to take that extra step. And it's also an opportunity for us to quality control some of our stuff. So I'm 100% on board with doing it.
Yeah, I just feel real strongly that we're going to surprise some people, right? They're going to get a postcard that says we're doing something to them, and I feel that's the most important. It may be the most important step of the actual master plan update, right? It's like Stacy says, it's that final one that says, hey, by the way, you're in this great idea that we have on what we should look like or what we should shape, and hopefully they're going to support it. So
Should we accept the report but just exclude action on that one zoning item? Because it is something that we're supposed to accept.
I think that would
but
be
not
fine.
direct staff.
I think you can accept the report, but direct staff to take no action and focus on the overall master plan update.
Is there any public comment on this item? Mr. French?
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, Mayor. I'm concerned that any changes that open space being still designated as a preserve. And seems like every time these things adjust, it's in the favor of the developer. And I understand that the residents do have their pot in it, but I think as having a stake in a situation, I think the whole community does, because it's going to be utilized as a drainage area that will relieve other issues in the community. And those things will be everybody's consideration and concerns and such. So while you may only have so many residents in that particular facility or development, the whole community is going to be involved in the open space consideration of it. And I don't want anything of that to change. So, but I'm very glad it's come up now, because it will give everybody a heads up that these things are coming. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, no other public comment? A motion, Supervisor Giomi?
Let me turn this on. I move to accept the master plan report from the Planning Commission, but at this time direct staff to take no action on zoning map amendments.
That's all. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. We're going to take just a brief recess. We'll be back in like 3 or 4 minutes. So we're in recess. Thank you. back to order. We're on agenda item 21, which is our non-action items. Do you have anything for us, City Manager?
A few things. I don't think I've talked about juvenile services before, but I just wanted to let you guys know that they're hosting some pretty great community outreach programs. They're having a vaping parent night. It's tonight at Carson Middle School, and they're doing that in Spanish. In January 28th, they're doing another parent engagement night on why attendance matters at the juvenile probation office. And also, if you recall, the board approved some city opioid funding for some of their programming. On building permits, I just wanted to let you know the calendar year 2024, we have all the information, and the valuation of permits for that year were $261 million. And we ended up with 271 housing starts for 2024. That's out of the 765 that are allowed.
Wow.
So
Going
just
down.
35% of the permits allowed were issued.
That's a slowing then over the last few years.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm saying we're just seeing a downward trend. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Just some road projects that are going to be happening: Curry Street, Stewart Street pavement preservation, Fifth Street and Gonai Road. Those upcoming projects design will be starting this winter. The landfill tipping pad, $6 million project, is 90% designed. And they're working through the darn environmental clearances that we were talking about earlier. And project is set to be bid in summer of 2025. And also the vulnerable pedestrian project, that's did I talk about that or the landfill? 90% design, and same thing with the environmental clearances, and will be bid in summer 2025. Parks and Recreation Night is at the UNR basketball game this Saturday on January 18th. And I think that was it. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy City Manager, you have some things to share?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one addition to City Manager Paulson's report. Altair Apartments on Stewart and Williams is breaking ground, and they have 210 apartments that will be coming forward. So just wanted to update that.
So 2025 will already almost match 2024. Okay. And those are where?
Stewart and Washington,
Oh, right behind the restaurant.
the old roundhouse.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Giomi?
Is someone going to mention the Tahoe Night Monsters, Carson City
Oh,
Day at that Tahoe Night Monsters? You want to mention that?
February?
February 7th?
Yes, I meant to. It's going to be Carson City Take Over the Night Monsters up at Lake Tahoe at the Tahoe Blue Event Center, February 7th. I'm trying to think of when, and there's a QR code that you can get on our website that has discounted tickets. And then I think it starts at 7:30.
Yeah, 7:30.
We had Carson Water Sub-Conservancy District meeting last night. Rich Harvey it's a couple of Rich Harveys in the area from my previous world as Rich Harvey Fire Chief in
Great.
Lyon County. But this Rich Harvey was the Rich Harvey who won the Andy Aldex Award this year. He is a volunteer in the Alpine County Watershed Group. Done a lot of work in Hope Valley in the Carson River preservation and whatnot. So he was the winner of the award. And snowpack update as of 2 days ago, we are at 86% snow water equivalent, and precipitation is at 88%. So surprisingly, we're not as far off as you might think, but it's going to drop fast because we've had, a long time without anything. Some updates from CTA, quite a few, so bear with me as I zip through these. CTA updated the room tax policies and procedures. Thanks to Todd from the DA's office, did a lot of work on that. those reside as under the jurisdiction of the CTA. However, the driving force behind them is Title IV. And so as Todd did that review, he made some recommendations for changes to Title IV, which I hope when we have our strategic plan, we move that to the top of the list of the next title for the DA to revise.
We have that as number one.
Because it impacts not only business license, but convention and tourism, and there's some things in there that probably need some updating. Room tax revenue for the month of November, we had been seeing a decrease in room tax revenues. November was an all-time high for the month of November, just under $2 million in room tax revenue for the month of November of 2024. Interestingly enough, both Washoe County and Douglas County were down for the same period, year over year. So don't know what that was about. It was, we'll see if it was an anomaly as we get December's numbers in. But that's despite the fact a couple of properties having rooms down for renovation. I don't know if you guys have all seen we heard a presentation on the Winter's Charm video. Has everybody seen that?
Mm-hmm.
So really, really good feedback. And they've taken some of those components, some of sort of the side comments, that the park ranger made and the characters made, and turned those into 15 to 20, 30-second promoting Carson City, not just the holiday components, but the other parts. But it was really well done. It really innovative. Kudos to the folks who put that together. The BAC and CTA did a tamale festival. Some of you may have attended that. It was December 15th. It sold out. Let me see the stats. Sold out in 3 hours. There were lines down the block starting at 12:30, and they're probably going to make it an annual event. May move it to something around Cinco de Mayo. And a few things coming up for you to stick on your calendars. January 21st, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but it is National Squirrel Day.
Oh, it's on my calendar.
Yeah, it's on your calendar.
It is.
Yeah, it's on, I'm sure it's on everybody's calendar.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, okay.
And
okay.
The Chamber of Commerce class of 24 did an art piece from regional artist Jeff Schomburg, and it's in Mills Park. They're going to do a dedication to that in the Sealy Loop End on the 21st at 3:30. They'll have squirrel-themed story time and some squirrel crafts, and apparently some squirrel singing games for kids, and maybe a squirrel or two will show up. And a couple of dates to stick on your calendar for local celebrations that CTA is sponsoring. Cinco de Mayo is May 2nd and 3rd. I understand Cinco de Mayo is not physically May 2nd and 3rd, but the celebration is May 2nd and 3rd. Third annual Murals and Music Festival is going to be September 15 and 20. And Mark Twain Day is officially going to be September 16 to 18. So that's it from two recent meetings.
Anyone else have anything to report? Okay, then we'll go to final public comment. Do I have any final public comment for the Board of Supervisors?
Denny French, thank you, Mayor. I was at the meeting with Jomi, Supervisor Jomi, and I was really impressed with the presentations, and I'd like to give kudos out to David Peterson, to Eric Brooks, Lydia Beck, and Stu Westler, thank you.
Wexler, yeah.
Thank you. I'd also like to suggest that I feel that it's a great team, and I think that they amazing amount of things done. And the presentation was wonderful, and I went out and looked at that squirrel that night, and the moon was amazing. So I got a picture of the squirrel and the moon, and so I would like to have it considered as far as the pay position that David Peterson, apparently he's maxed out as far as his pay grade. And I think somewhere along the line, after somebody puts in that much time, you don't decrease their ability to earn, but that you might consider some changes in that pay rate.
That doesn't come to us.
Okay, but I'm just putting it out there to the world. So thank you, this is my opportunity too, and I think it fit into the fact that I was at the meeting. And the only thing that I am concerned about is their considerations, and I didn't bring it up at the meeting because it wasn't in the spirit of the matter. Their encouragement of sports coming is also with that caveat in my understanding that artificial turf will be introduced. And I'm sorry that 11A didn't come up. I felt that the Little League facility and its situation with artificial turf needs to be looked into, since you all have taken off the book or the table the tire crumb. And as I haven't done enough homework on it, I don't know what they're using as a filler. But I think those things need to be advised to the families that are going to be utilizing the facility. And the more study I've done is suggesting that indoor turf is almost more hazardous than outdoor turf. So in itself, not just the fill, it's not related to the fill at all. So those subjects I'd like to say, but I really appreciate your efforts. While I can't come to grips with some of the zoning issues, Hope did get me online with that. So thank you very much.
Do I have any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, then I am going to adjourn the Board of Supervisors and call to order the Liquor and Entertainment Board. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Bagwell,
Here.
Member Furlong, Member Giammi, Member White, Member Horton, Member Shooty.
Here.
You have your quorum.
Thank you so much.
Did you just like sneak? I didn't even see you sneak over there. It's like you just popped up and materialized. Like you got beamed in. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to comment. It was going to come out wrong. So sometimes it's just don't say anything, right? Okay, we're going to start with agenda item 26. Is there any public comment for the Liquor and Entertainment Board? Then we will move to agenda item 27A, which is the minutes for April 4, 2024. Is there any corrections or changes? I'll accept a motion for approval.
Move to approve the Carson City Liquor and Entertainment Board meeting minutes April 4, 2024 is presented.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now to agenda item 28A, which is just a discussion only, a presentation and discussion regarding the Liquor Hearings Officer 2024 Annual Report. Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mayor. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. Before I give the report, I want to do a couple introductions. I have with me today Natalie Keel. Natalie has been our business license specialist for probably about 4 years. She's amazing. If you haven't met her, you probably heard anything nice you hear about business license, which there's a lot of nice things being said, is a reflection of Natalie's work. She's amazing. She handles every single liquor hearing, getting it organized, working with the applicants, coordinating with the sheriff's office. So she does the presentations to the hearings officer. I'll do the presentation today, but she prepared the staff report. Also with me is Taylor Maris, and he's with the sheriff's office. He also runs school resource officers and the MOST team. The sheriff's office has had a couple different people working with us over the last year, so we're glad to have Taylor with us, and we enjoyed every single one of them. But the liquor hearing is really a cooperative effort between business license and the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office attends every single hearing. And so I tell you that every year, but I always like to say it again because it's really something we work on together, and it's a good collaboration. All of that said, Municipal Code 4.13.150 says the hearings officer needs to present an annual activity report to the Liquor and Entertainment Board. The hearings officers are the primary one, and Heather Ferris, the planning manager, is the backup hearings officer. In 2024, we had 7 meetings. The hearings officer reviewed 29 applications. 26 of those applications were approved. 17 of the applications were for new licenses, and I have the list, or I should say Natalie put the list in the staff report. 18 of the applications were for new or additional liquor managers. As you may recall, we've really tried to get some of the businesses who have out-of-town liquor managers to include an in-town liquor manager. So there's always somebody on site. So we have businesses that have multiple liquor managers, which is helpful. We had one application for a new classification. I denied one liquor license, and that was because the business decided not to pursue the liquor license. So the only way, again, we've had this conversation, the only way to refund the money was to deny the application. And I referred 2 applications to this board. In terms of enforcement, there were 30 businesses where alcohol compliance checks were conducted. 23 of those businesses passed, 7 failed. 5 of the businesses were first-time offenses and 2 were second-time offenses. And that concludes my report. If there's any questions for any of us, we're available.
Does any member have a question? Supervisor White, or Member White?
On the second page there, where you have all the new licenses, Poncho's Tacos, halfway down. That's at 104 Stanford Drive. So they operating catering business out of a residential property?
No, it's a food truck. And so it's a food truck. And so technically, they take their mail at their home, but it's a mobile food truck. So the mobile food truck isn't at that location, but the business takes its mail at that location.
Where does the food truck live?
It would live at a depot. I'm not sure which depot they utilize, but usually the food trucks will coordinate with a local restaurant that has a catering kitchen so they can deal with their gray water and the cleanups and stuff. And the health department oversees as part of the health permit for a food truck, the health department makes sure that there's a depot. But the depot is not the place of business. It's not where we would mail a business license. It's just where they clean up their truck.
Where does the food truck go at the end of the day to spend the night?
It goes to the depot.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then this is a discussion item only. We don't have to take any action. I've got to come up with something. I cannot continue to have these people with no questions. They're getting off too easy. How about just saying thank you for attending some of the school parties and attendance Hall of Fame with me. I've really appreciated the school resource officers doing that with us. It's
Yeah.
been a
Thank you,
good
Mayor.
time, and I think the kids are responding well. And next week I'm gonna see the stats, so we'll see how we did. But
Thank
thank
you.
you for your support.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Is there any final public comment for the Liquor and Entertainment Board? Nothing? Okay, with that, we are adjourned as the Liquor and Entertainment Board. We will have a closed session to meet with our lawyers. Thank you.